Hi everyone, welcome to this morning's webinar. Hope everyone had a good bank holiday weekend. I'm Chris. I'm joined by my esteemed colleagues. I'm joined by Adrian and Ikra from our asset finance team, and I'm also joined by Jimmy, who is in our marketing team. Adrian, do you want to just give yourself a little introduction if you don't mind?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Adrian. I'm coming up to two years with Swoop, but 20 years in the asset finance game. So there's very little that I've not seen or dealt with over that journey. It's been a up and down, full of thrills. No two deals are ever the same. And yes, I still get a buzz from being able to help clients get their equipment funded.
Cheers, Adrian. There will be a question about what is the most extravagant or out of scope thing you've managed to secure a deal on. That will be coming. Ikra, do you want to give yourself an introduction?
Sure. So my name's Ikra and I'm from sunny Yorkshire and I have been working in asset finance for about 8 years now. I've come from a banking background, so I used to work direct with lenders and customers for about 8 years, and I have been working within Swoop for coming up to 3 years now.
Amazing stuff. Thanks, Ikra. That question will be coming to you as well. What's the weirdest thing someone's managed to get secured? Jimmy, yourself, introduction?
Hey, morning guys. I'm Jimmy. I work on the marketing team at Swoop. I've been here for a good 5 years now, so I've spoken to a bunch of advisors over the past. And yeah, everything Google is kind of my bread and butter. So SEO, phrase you may or may not be familiar with, but search engine optimization and Google Ads as well. So drumming up any sort of business online is kind of my forte.
Cheers, Jimmy. So everyone, going to get started. How the webinar is going to go is I'll just talk you through what Swoop is. We'll have existing advisors on board with us and new ones. So it's always good to touch base about everything that we can do for Swoop. And then we'll pass it over to the asset finance team. So Adrian and Ikra, and we'll be going over the marketing side of things with Jimmy. So if you don't know what Swoop is a platform tech-led anything business finance we're able to potentially help with. So I like to put it into this spider web, so to speak. So when I was working in NatWest and RBS, I would love something like this when I could speak to customers. We used to do things called business health checks, and you were very computer based, whereas this is so different to what we're used to as well. There's so many different ways that Swoop can help. The way I think it is really good for accountancy practices and bookkeepers is when a client is coming looking for something, we're able to make you money or save you money. So when a client is looking and thinking, right, I'm a startup or I'm an established business, or you've come to that crossroads where you're thinking, right, I'm hitting my peak, I want to grow, but how do I grow? Swoop should have the answer for you. So what we do is we give you access to what we call a platform, like a CRM system. There's two ways that you can use it. You've got a CRM system and you've got a white label system. Anytime a client goes through that platform or you add a client on board, there's 4 different pillars that we can potentially help with. So at the bottom, we'll start with savings. So ideal for startups, really, really good for established businesses. You've got your current accounts. We're able to help you on savings accounts. We're able to introduce you to pensions, so auto enrollment, salary sacrifice. We can also help with FX. So if your clients are doing dollar, euro, anything like that, there's a potential money to be saved to get you the best currency rates. We also do credit score and credit safe reports. We also do a thing called insight reports, which I'll show very shortly. A feature that is massively underused, in my opinion, is the ability to upload utility bills. When we upload utility bills, we send it to our partner and we're able to say how much money that you can potentially save, or they're just on a really, really good rate that we can't do anything at the moment. But still, we've saved our practice £13,000 a year through utilities. We just recently saved our business £700 a year through utilities. So it's such an easy win. Doesn't cost anything to do. Pop your utility bills over and we're able to see. And we're also able to do any type of insurance as well. So public liability, private healthcare, life cover, we're able to do that. On the left-hand side, we've got the ability to send out a pitch deck to a network of investors. So we've got around about 350 investors that are on our panel at the moment, all ranging from family offices, VCs, angel and high net worths. All we ask for is a pitch deck. The more information that we have, the better. And our job is to try and match you with an investor. If we can get you a meeting, perfect. But it's a service that you can offer to your clients. I wish I could give you a magic formula about what works and what is investable at the moment, but it completely changes week on week. At the top, we've got all types of finance. So back 10, 15 years ago, it was kind of very simple. You either have a loan, an overdraft, or invoice finance. That's developed now. So if a client is looking for 50,000, there's numerous different ways that you can do. I'm not going to spend too much on asset finance. Don't want to rain on Adrian and Ikra's parade. But you've also got invoice finance, invoice discounting, an ability to upload invoices and take out about 99% of that cash from that invoice. Isn't as expensive as it used to be. It's really quick, really easy, and really, really good. Something that's new that came to the fore is tax funding. So if you've got clients that are constantly chasing their tail for self-assessment, corporation tax, or VAT, instead of going for a time to pay, we actually have business loans that are cheaper than a time to pay, and that just covers the tax liabilities. So for example, if your clients are constantly low on VAT and they don't want to use their cash reserves, what you can then do instead of paying it all in one or going to a time to pay, you can take a VAT facility. Every 3 months you can keep renewing it. Interest rate's about 7.5% flat, and that is the ability just to pay the VAT off and a direct debit each month. Really quick to set up. No security under 150,000, so no personal guarantees. A really, really good tool and a really, really underutilized tool as well. You've also got commercial mortgages, so if you're buying property, buying land, MBOs, we can look at that as well. You've got your typical business loans, your working capital, and your merchant finance. I always like to say if there's money out there for that business, we will do our best to find it. Our job is not to price out the market. We're simply giving you all the options available. On the right-hand side, if you do R&D within your practice, fantastic. If you don't, or if you outsource it, give us a call. Reach out to us. We've got a specialist R&D tax team within Swoop, so we don't outsource it ourselves. We're able to take that initial inquiry, see if we can make a claim for it. If there's investigations happening, we can still have a look at it. So if you are doing R&D at the moment, reach out to us and see what we can do for your clients as well. And finally, we also have a grant finder within the app as well. So if your clients are looking for grants, now if you ever go on that rabbit hole at night where you're thinking, oh no, what am I going to do? I need X, Y, and Z. I wonder if there's any grants. It's so difficult to find grants out there. But with our platform, you're able just to look and get the answers within 2 minutes to see what grants are available. So we search national, local, regional, council, government, and sector based. And they're personalised as well. So it's not just throwing hundreds of grants at you. We'll try and personalise it as much as possible. We can't apply for the grants for you, but we're able to point you in the right direction. As I said, we can support every business at a stage of their journey. So even if it's startup, there is options out there. If it's starting that growing, so they've been trading, they've done their first year's accounts, and they're starting to really hit the ground running, there's tons of different options. It definitely opens up the way that we can look at funding. I talked about that crossroads where you've potentially got a lot of contracts, you've won a new contract, you're taking on members of staff, and you're really starting to go, but the cash flow is getting really tight. There's different options we can do for that. And again, established businesses, there's different options as well. That's the Swoop platform as it's such. I mentioned about the CRM platform, and this is what we can do. So this is where you live and breathe. So if you are using your bookkeeping software, it kind of looks like a little bit similar. So every client that you add on board, you'll see here. So you'll be able to see the credit score. You'll be able to see the accounting integration that you can match to. You're able to see the funding matches, and you're able to see this as well. What you're also able to do is add a client. So if you're adding a client on board, we look at limited companies, LLPs, partnerships, and sole traders. It takes 2 seconds to add a client on board. You literally just put in the limited company. You can put in the revenue, which is the turnover, client's details. If the client requires funding, so if you add a client on board, you retain that full control of what happens to that client. We will never reach out to the client, and we don't credit score at this stage. So if you are preparing for a meeting, or if you're going in for a strategy meeting, or just outlining what's going to look for the business before you meet them, you can do that. We will never reach out to the client unless you tell us to do so, and they're not getting credit scored at this stage. What you're then able to do is you're able just to fill it out as well. And then what will happen is it will come up with the client matches. So when we're looking at this business, for example, it'll bring through all the information. So it'll bring through the credit safe information. As I said, this is not a trading company at the moment. So what we're then doing is we're just looking to see, right, A, B, and C are historically really good, really fundable. Can we look at that? But when we're looking at funding matches, what we're able to do is you're able to customize it. So the business is 5 years old, for example. And what that's doing is bringing through all the information from there. So if the business is 5 years age, you can see there's 896, but then you can start to really go into the depths of it and seeing, right, turnover's 50,000, you've got the invoice financed. The minimum funding amount will say 20,000, 30,000. And again, what that's looking for, it says that there's no funding matches. But again, we're still trying to give the personalised matches, and you're able to put that in there as well. So there's tons of stuff available that you can do. You've got the filters here as well that you can take off as well. If you're looking for grants, take it this bit here. This will show the grants that are able to come through as well. So a really, really powerful tool, and you're able just to customize that as well. You can integrate your software, your bank accounts. You've got all your savings side of things, so your savings accounts, your pensions, your credit score, and we're able to kind of help as much as possible for that. So as soon as a client's added, we'll reach out to you to say, look, you've added Test Limited to your portal. What can we do to help? If they're looking for funding, we'll look at all the funding matches that are available. We'll go and speak to all the potential lenders. We'll get you the best options. We'll send you the options, and you can just put them to the client. The client makes the final choice. If the client is looking to go ahead, perfect, we'll do the rest. So we are always trying to do as much work as possible. I always like to say we do 95% of the work. So what we'll always need is last year's accounts and 6 months bank statements to give us a good foundation. What we're also able to do is you're able to put in notes here for the funding managers. So if you're putting in a new note, client for grant, for growth, and if they're doing any specific projects, you're able to put that in as well. We do have a grant team within the background that can look in depth at grants if they are looking at a project. But apart from that, that is the really quick overview of the CRM system. So in short, really quick, really easy, gives you answers to questions really fast. If a client does ask about funding or grants, you've got an answer straight away. What we also can do as well is we can also really jazz this up for you. So if you say, right, Chris, that looks great, but I don't have time to input all my client's details, what we can then also do is we can also white label it for you as well. So this could have your practice logo here. You can put this, and I'm sure Jimmy will put this into a much better marketing way than I will, but you're able to put this on websites. You can put this as email campaigns. You can put this as a link to your networking channel on social media. But what this is able to do is able to put this link anywhere that you have visibility. And what this does, it lets clients and non-clients look for options through your specific portal. So if you can think this is your portal logo, I'm just scrolling on Facebook. I'm not a client of yours, but what then I'm able to do is able to go through this link. Right, I'm looking to secure funds. I'm looking for vehicle finance. Just go through that. Takes around about 3 to 4 minutes tops. And then what we're able to do is we're able to see all the options available for the client as well. So this is what the client sees. So the client's then able to look for themselves and think, look, right, what loans are available for my business? Right, I'm looking at grants. I could really do with a grant for X, Y, and Z. So we're trying to customize it as much as possible. It's all up to date. It's all real-time information. Oh, do you know what? I could do a credit card for my expenses. Perfect. You can just apply straight from here. But that's going through your portal. So every client that goes through this white label ends up on your portal. So you can almost use it as a client acquisition tool. So a very powerful tool. You can use it as much as you want to do. Some practices are using it to outbound email or outbound call their clients each month. 1 month they'll focus on grants. 1 month they'll focus on savings accounts. Another one they'll look at equity funding, for example. There's so much stuff here that your clients can actually do without you getting involved in it. Once you are involved, you'll be able to see who does it. So for example, if Test Limited went through my white label, I'm able to see the director's information. I'm able to phone the customer or the non-client and say, look, you went through my white label, how can I help? And that is a potential way of getting a client for you or helping your own clients. So a really, really powerful tool. The last thing I'll focus on is what we call an insight report. So an insight report is something that we custom make for you. It's not something that you can request through the portal. So if you do partner with Swoop, you've got a customer success manager that will look after you. You'll have full access to our marketing team. You'll have a specific point of contact for all times. So you're not just getting the software and we're just saying, well, see you later. So what we make is what we call an insight report. So what we're able to tell you is we're able to tell you the credit score. So anything above 40 historically is something that we can potentially look at. We're taking in information from different places. So we're looking at, right, what's credit safe saying, right? What is the accounts looking like? Can we pull information from the bookkeeping software? So we're giving you like a full trend analysis of what the business is doing. We'll have a look at the website, but what we're also doing as well is we're able to tell you what potentially that they could have. So this is really powerful because if you are meeting a client, you've got everything that we can do in this report for you. So if, for example, they've got 300k pre-approved for loans or invoice finance, or we can see that there's a large VAT bill, for example, what we're able to then say is they're pre-approved for this. So that means you can mention to your clients to say, look, you're actually pre-approved for X, Y, and Z, or I've noticed you've got a charge relating to that. Is it worth having a look at it to see if we can get you a better interest rate? We've noticed that there's 4 grants potentially available, etc., etc. So what you're doing is you've got this 5-page report that we've scoured everywhere for and giving you that information right there. So really powerful tool. When you're going into that meeting, you can just basically wow the client. And what I always think is really powerful and what I always like to do within the bank is I want that client going away with something. So if I can make them money or save them money, I've done my job. So if I can leave that client going away or I'm doing networking and that client's going away from a meeting thinking they can potentially apply for 2 grants, they've got pre-approved for this, and I've made a difference to their business, fantastic. That's me done my job. And if they're needing that extra little bit of help, perfect. We can sit down, we can go through what's available. To me, this is really powerful. It goes in line with the portal. But I think if you're in accountancy practice, what are you going to be doing differently? What's other accountancy practices that are not doing that you can add? And I guarantee grants is a really quick one. Grants is a really easy one because no one likes to look for grants because it takes forever to do it. Even if you chat GPT it, it's the ones that come up are a bit hit or miss, to be perfectly honest. But you've got real-time information, real-time options, and then we can just basically just say, boom, here's everything that we can do. And hopefully that client can thank you for it for saving money on their utilities, gave them 3 grants, and they've got a cash flow facility that is releasing cash for them. So I'm going to stop there and ask if anyone's got any questions. I can see the one that just came into the chat just now. How long does it? It takes us 5 minutes for our report. So we do that. So you don't need to worry about that. So if you request it, we'll do it straight away. Maybe not at midnight. It'll take it probably in the morning for that one. But yeah, if it's between 8 and 6, we should be able to do it between 5 minutes. Doesn't take us long. Any other questions at all?
There was one more in the chat, Chris.
How do you request it? You just go through your customer success manager. Just add them to the client, add them to the portal, and then we'll send you an email. And then if you just say they're looking for an insight report, we'll do the rest. So that's me trying to sell you the dream on Swoop, as in the portal, how you can use it within your practice. I'm going to hand over to Adrian and Ikra. So basically, they're the ones that make the asset finance world go round. So when I came into Swoop, I used to use Lombard within the bank. So I was kind of very one-dimensional, but they're going to wow you with everything that they can do in terms of assets finance. So over to you both.
Lovely. Thanks, Chris. Perfect. Thanks, Ikra. So I think it's important to stress what asset type can be financed. And if it's mission critical, revenue generating, then often the answer is yes, it can be financed. The asset types that we've listed there, the common ones, the vehicles, we are seeing more electric vehicles, which the lenders have now extended financing terms. Initially, they were shortened just due to the fact that they've been new technology, and unsure how long they were going to last in comparison to more traditional petrol diesel types. So we are seeing more and more lenders getting on board with extending the terms. Obviously, trucks, trailers, all these will attract low rates. It's very competitive out there at the moment. So please do ask if you have any questions on that. Hard assets. What is a hard asset? Plant machinery, industrial machinery, anything heavy, chunky with a residual value. Again, they benefit from extremely low rates as per the vehicles. Soft assets, anything which is falling outside of the category of having a residual value. So with little to no value from day two. Clearly, it's a value to the client and to the vendor, but to the lender, if they would ever have to reclaim that equipment, will it be revenue generating for them? Can they sell that at the value that they purchased it for? Very unlikely. Renewables, which again, see more and more of these, solar panels, wind turbines, biomass. Lenders are setting up specific divisions for these types of assets, and we are seeing that they are extending the term down. As you can imagine, with this type of equipment, they are long-term revenue returning items, which the lenders understand this. So you may find that a term of 7 years, potentially even up to 10 years, depending on the size and the actual equipment type that it is. Intangibles, again, quite often people are unaware that you can actually finance 100% software. The one thing that I would point out on something like a software product is that it does need to be the backing of a industry recognizable brand, for instance, Sage, as an example, purely because throughout the term of the lease arrangement, it does need to have the support of the provider of that software. Unusual, as we mentioned at the start, and at the start of my conversation there, if it is revenue generating or mission critical, it can be financed. So yurts or TPs, as they're more commonly known, they have been financed and can be financed. Swimming pools, you may find that there is more outdoor pools that we've come across. Again, quite an unusual one, but can be financed. So if there's any doubts over whether we can assist, please do reach out and ask. All of these items can be funded for new start businesses and well-established businesses. The only difference being is what is actually required by the lender to support this. So clearly, if it's a vehicle for an established business, there is not going to be any requirement for instance, directors' guarantees. Certainly no property charges. If they are a new start business looking for something which is purely intangible, directors' guarantees are a must. And depending on the size of the lend, potentially there could be additional security required, whether that be in the form of a property charge or a floating charge. It may be a marine vessel, for example. So yes, there's a lot of scope there. But yeah, if any doubt, please do ask. Ikra, are you okay to just flick over to the next one? So product types. Most commonly, it will be assets lease or it will be on a hire purchase. The two differences, the main difference between the two is with the hire purchase, the VAT does need to be paid in full up front. With the lease finance, it's paid on the monthly repayments. Both come with a minimum term of 12 months with a maximum of 5 years, 60 months. But as mentioned on the earlier slide, if they are renewable types, extended terms can be discussed. Vehicles can also be looked into on an extended term. We're not tax advisors, we would always point the client back to yourselves for direction on whether they would go down the hire purchase route or the lease finance route. Clearly, there is differences there with regards to tax savings. Both instances, funds are sent direct to the supplier, the vendor, and title can be purchased by the user at the end of the agreement or upon settlement, whichever comes first. So if you want to go to the next slide, Ikra. Other products, in addition to standard hire purchase and lease finance, sale and HP back or sale and lease back, whereby the client purchases the equipment and then reclaims the funds for the amount that they have paid to that seller, supplier. This often works well if the equipment is coming from an overseas supplier, or if the client had made the purchase due to the terms of sale from supplier vendor, whereby payment was required upfront before delivery, but client's intention was always to finance the equipment rather than have the initial large outlay from their account. Works very well. Asset refinance, mostly it is on hard asset only, because as mentioned before, the tendency is they do have a guaranteed resale value. So you will find that it's mainly plant machinery or possibly vehicles, something chunky with a residual value. So that can be, well, that can work well. The equipment, again, equipment, dependent on the equipment type, will determine the term of the age of the vehicle, the age of the equipment at the time of the refinance request. Loan to values do range from anywhere from 65% to 80%. There is a scheme at the moment, which is the government back scheme, where you can actually reclaim 100% of the value. Values are determined by desktop valuations. However, if the client has carried out their own independent valuation, as long as it is from a company which is recognised, then that valuation can be used. But again, quick process, and yeah, the client reclaims the capital that's in the equipment, so it works very well. I think that's everything, is it, Nicola? I don't know if you want the next one.
Thank you for that, Adrian. So now that you've given us a high overview of asset finance, what should we look for and how do we find the asset finance opportunities? So, clients' business plans. Does the customer have plans for the coming year? Do they have any expansion plans? Any equipment or asset purchases that they're looking to finance within the year? Replacement assets. Does the customer need to replace any aging assets? So, for example, that could be vehicles, cars, any aging machinery that they're looking at repurchasing, or they need a newer model, etc. We can assist with that. Rental costs. Is the customer client spending regularly on renting equipment? So if you look through a customer's bank statements and you can see hiring costs on there, can that customer look at financing the assets instead to make it more cost effective rather than hiring? Recent purchases strain cash flow. So this is going back to sale and HP that Adrian just mentioned. So if the customer has purchased an asset within 3 months, we can look at 100% LTV value on that. And what we would normally need is just an invoice and proof of purchase to be able to proceed with that application. Cash flow requirements. So is there any sort of assets on the customer's balance sheet or any sort of assets that they may own outright that they can look at refinancing? We've done quite a few of these recently. We've done a fleet of vehicles, and I think we've done machinery as well. So we can look at refinancing all sorts of assets. What we'd have to do is find out what the asset is, and we could get a valuation on it and look at refinancing that for the asset. I believe we can look up to 80% LTV, but it depends on what the asset is. So if there is sort of any applications for it or any sort of requirements, we can look at that. And corporate tax reduction. So is there an opportunity to purchase an income generating asset, which would also reduce corporation tax bill? So that could be an electric car for the director, staff members, solar panels, etc. If there's sort of any electric opportunities there, we can look at helping with that as well. And if the customer has had acceptance elsewhere, you can still send the quote towards or the acceptance, or we can look at competing against that. And then lastly, just wanted to share a case study for a recent client that we had. So this was 100% software product, and it was for a global luxury concierge service provider. And from the initial inquiry, it took us 3 days to activate the finance, and we provided it over a fixed short-term 12-month repayment plan with a low annual rate of 19%, and there was no sort of special conditions on there, even though it was 100% software product. And I believe we can open the floor to questions.
Thanks, Adrian. Thanks, Ikra, for that. I need to say, what's the most out of you've managed to source a deal for?
I'm gonna steal a colleague's thunder on this one because I was thinking about it because it came up recently. So it just stood out as I'd never seen anything like it before, and it was very impressive. But a candy floss shaping machine, um, which when you actually see the end results, it's more impressive than probably it sounds. But I'd never seen anything like it. You literally press a button and you can get any kind of shape of any kind of animal, flower you think about, whatever you want, and it's a candy floss. It was amazing.
See, to be fair, I'm thinking to myself, there's a really demand for that, but then if you put that in front of my wee 3-year-old, my days, it cost me an absolute fortune and I don't know how I would manage to say no to that, but there we go. Ikra, what about yourself? Anything weird and wacky that you've managed to source for?
I've done a 360 photo booth for a client who hires them out to weddings and parties. Again, I think the customers, what they could do is have the video on their phone, and it would literally be, I think that they had like a TikTok live video as well, where they could be doing live streaming on it. So that was pretty cool. Something
Nice to
different,
see.
quirky, but yeah.
I see them at their weddings, channeling their inner Zoolander, when it goes round and they have to strike a pose. Quite funny. There we go. But no, I appreciate that both. I don't think there's any questions. So Jimmy, over to yourself. I don't know how you can beat a candy floss maker that makes any shape, but we can try.
No, I think mine's going to be a little bit more dry than that, but let me share my screen and then bring up my notes for you guys. Okay, hopefully you can see that. Is that full screen for you guys there?
Looks like a slimline version on my screen.
Slimline version, that's not what I want. Okay, give me 1 second. Sorry, guys. Let's try again. All right, before I jump into my slides, actually, I just wanted to sort of extend what you were talking about there, Chris, with the mixture between equity grants, loans, that whole of market mix. What we found with some clients is that you can kind of become pretty indispensable to your clients if you can manage to find some savings from their business and then use those savings to potentially pay for part of or even all of a loan. So you can imagine if you found a few grand in savings per year, and then that would offset a big chunk of the monthly cost of a loan. So that's a really amazing opportunity to become indispensable to your clients. But yeah, pivoting right away from asset finance, I'm going to give you a sort of a whistle stop tour on advisory, marketing your advisory firm, sort of in general, and then the funding advisory side specifically as well. So I've spoken to a bunch of businesses across all sectors, advisors as well, of course. A lot of them want to start marketing. They all want more leads. They want to drum up more business online. A lot of them are really sort of ready to start running before they can walk. So my advice is to any business of any size, do a bit of an audit, get your house in order, make sure all the fundamentals are there before you start, especially start investing in something like maybe Google Ads, which can become quite expensive. But my advice to all of you is to sort of nail your positioning and then reflect that on your homepage. So I think in any sector, and advisors as well, you sort of can't be everything to everyone all the time. I'd say pick a lane. If there's a way for you to differentiate yourself between you and a competitor, stick with that. Use that in your marketing. Reflect that in your homepage. Maybe you focus on particular business types or business sizes, particular geographies, whatever it might be. Pick that position, stick with it, and then definitely reflect that across all of your marketing, but in particular your homepage, because that's basically your digital storefront. Secondary to that, in your homepage, make sure you have a product page on your website for all of the products or different services that you offer. If you're not just doing run-of-the-mill accounting, if there are other sort of advisory aspects, of course, funding advisory fits into that. Have a dedicated page on your website for all of those different services that you offer. Of course, we as Swoop, we're here to help you with all of this, top to bottom. We're here to be your marketing partner as much as your funding partner. So yeah, reach out and we can obviously help you with this stuff. In an AI world, I think this is becoming even more important. If someone goes onto something like ChatGPT and they want to try and find an advisor or an accounting firm, by having this content on your website, it's going to help you show up, not just in Google, but as ChatGPT and those AI tools become more prominent, it's going to help you show up there as well. Something that we find with the younger businesses is they often don't have Google Analytics set up. This is a really easy way to sort of capture how users are navigating and finding your business online. It's free to set up. It's very easy. Again, we can help you do that. Something else that we find is really powerful, but a lot of businesses are missing the mark on, is collecting emails. All you have to do is add an email capture form on your website, and maybe businesses aren't ready to become paying clients yet, but maybe that's something that's going to come in the future. Obviously, you'd want to be on their radar when that time comes for them to convert or to become a paying customer. So ask these clients for their emails, even though they might not be ready to be paying clients just yet. Obviously, this is a great opportunity to start warming them up to someone like Swoop or other partners that you use, and other services that they might not be used to advisors offering, funding being one of those. So it's a great opportunity to warm them up to these things. Another thing is Google My Business. This is basically just your business profile on Google. So if someone went searching for accountants near me or accountants in Bath, where I'm located, obviously, if I'm an accountant, I would love to show up for those types of queries. By doing that, the only way to do that is really to have a Google My Business profile. So a lot of you may or may not have that, but if you do, make sure it's also up to date, because it's no good if it's out of date. It's got incorrect contact details, something like that. It's probably just going to get ignored if you don't have up-to-date details. So if you don't have a Google My Business profile, absolutely go and get one. If you have it, do an audit of it. Make sure that things like your name, address, and phone, or your NAP citations, are up to date. If your name, address, and phone number across the web, including your Google My Business profile, your website, and then maybe some directories or other partner websites that your business might be listed on, if they're not consistent across the board, you won't show up for those accountants near me or accountants in X town. So that's something that is often overlooked. People don't think about these things, especially if it's a name, address, and phone number listed on a third-party website or a directory or something like that. Make sure those are up to date, and you'll absolutely put yourself in a really good position to show up for those local SEO queries, those accountants near me type queries. And then diving into the funding advisory specifically. So as you all know, the landscape has changed significantly over the past few years. It will continue to change in this sort of AI world that we're going into. By offering funding advisory, it gives you a really good opportunity to gain a competitive advantage against your competitors. Obviously, not everyone is doing this, but yeah, by diversifying into something like this, gives you a good competitive edge. We found that advisors who offer this type of service, they really do build stronger client relationships. You almost become seen less as a cost and less as a transaction. You start to be seen more as a growth partner, and someone that a business will go to at each step or each stage of their growth. How can I grow from this level to this level? Obviously, that builds retention, loyalty, and trust, and you then become an indispensable partner. So we really advise sort of baking in that funding advisory conversation early on as possible. And if you manage to get a client a savings and a loan somewhere, and that saving offset the loan, that's pretty incredible. Talk about their fund goals early, not just when it comes up in conversation. Be proactive when you're talking about funding. This allows you to get a better understanding of their business. So you're going to offer better advice and consultancy across the board, across all of their business, not just when it comes to funding, because you're going to understand that business as well as they do, and you're going to become that indispensable partner. And then, just talk about all of this, make all of this funding advice bake it into every conversation that you have, all of your marketing. See, if you do this and you get these savings or these fund products for these clients, you're going to stand out and you're going to ultimately win more clients. And then I appreciate all of you are going to be at sort of various stages of growth, and your understanding and your sort of maturity when it comes to marketing is all going to be very, very different. So I'm not going to talk about different channels or different marketing mixes or whatever it might be, but I think every business, advisory or not, any size, any age, any sector, email, I still feel, is the most valuable marketing channel. Even more so as we move into an AI sort of driven world. Email, we've found, certainly for Swoop and then for our clients as well, or customers we deal with, we've all found email is still the one channel that really works. It's an opportunity for you to be the signal in the noise, remembering that these businesses that are on your email list have shown an interest in your business at some point. So they are relatively warmed up to your business and the services that you offer. We feel if you've got one client or 1,000 clients, email is still the channel that really, really works. And again, the common thread through all of this is we at Swoop want to be your marketing partner as much as your funding partner. We're here to help you throughout that whole marketing journey, no matter your maturity, no matter the business size. We can help you talk about marketing in general, obviously funding, and we're here to help you as much as Chris and the tech and the customer support teams are. So that is it from my side, guys.
Here's Jimmy. One question for me is, I was going to say a pet hate, but what is the one thing that you really see accountants and advisors as such an easy, I hate the phrase, low-hanging fruit or easy win, that they don't do that they should be doing at all times?
It comes back to market, to email. We've got firms that have these really big databases of emails. The sort of quality of businesses on those databases is pretty incredible. It's just a huge opportunity by not just speaking to them, informing them, educating them. Businesses of all sizes, all sectors, they all have questions, and it's an opportunity for us being Swoop and you as a practice together. It's an opportunity for us to educate and inform them, and build that trust when they are ready for funding or when they are ready to convert and bring in some more revenue. You're going to stay top of mind. You're going to be that trusted partner. It's really just a no-brainer in my view. And again, we're here to help you with all of this.
Nice. Any more questions from anybody else? Don't think so. But no, that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. Jimmy, Adrian, Ikra, thank you so much for your knowledge and expertise. If you are looking for more information about Swoop, please react to the email that will be sent to you shortly after this. If there is anything on the webinar that you want to know more about, please reach out. But no, thanks everyone for joining, and hopefully speak to you soon. Thanks everyone.